The Maze Runner is a science fiction series consisting of 3 main volumes and 2 prequels, first published by Random House between 2009 and 2011. The author is James Dashner, born and raised in Georgia in 1972, a writer of dystopian science fiction novels for young adults, with a passion for writing that has accompanied him since childhood. He studied at Brigham Young University and received his master's degree in accounting. After years of working in finance, he decided to become a full-time writer, often drawing inspiration from books he already read or movies he already watched. The series was a hit all over the world, capturing the attention of director Westworld, who decided to adapt it into 3 movies: The Maze Runner, The Scorched Trials, and The Death Cure. The story takes place on a post-apocalyptic Earth, where Thomas and young people of his age wake up one day inside a metal box, without any memory except for their own name. Once out of the box, they find themselves in front of a vast plain, surrounded on all 4 sides by huge mechanical walls that conceal an intricate and enormous labyrinth. Inside, there are terrifying creatures called grievers, whose sting can be followed. For years, the gliders have looked for a way out, without results. The arrival of Thomas has turned all the tables, and all that's left to decide is stay or risk it. The books and the movies, although they have the same general concept, are essentially very different. One difference that immediately comes to mind is time management. In the book, the events unfold much more slowly and in more detail, so many of the original scenes have been cut or edited, and the pace is faster. The famous code, for example, which consisted of letters found on the maps drawn by the runners, in the film becomes an electronic device which acts as a navigator, and numbers to be entered as access keys. There is also a scene where originally only the heads of the gliders together. This part has been changed by including the participation of all the boys of the glade, and the fight between Gully and Miho during the meeting is kept altogether. Or the message that the Heresa carries in the book, which appears in the movie to Thomas in the form of memory fragments. Another fact that had never happened in the movie is Terema's coma and initial imprisonment in the slammer. That should have lasted for days. In addition, among the changes made by the director is the characterization of certain characters. Gully, Thomas' antagonist, is an arrogant bully, which in the film becomes a boy who negatively reacts to the actions of Thomas, mainly because he fears that they may undermine the fragile order that the group has struggled so hard to establish and wants to protect it. There is Albie, the leader of the gliders, who in the book appears easily irritable and impatient, while in the movie he switches to a more friendly, impassioned and reliable attitude. In fact, contrary to the canonical version, Albie and Thomas get along very well. Yet another difference lies in the telepathy skills of Teresa and Thomas, a significant element in the book, which is completely absent in the film. These are just a couple of the differences, while few of the original aspects remain. The story is basically the same, even the particular language of the gliders stays unchanged. Even certain relationships match those of the books. The common past and the close bond between Thomas and Teresa, the deep friendship between Thomas, Newt and Minot, Thomas' fondness for Chuck, and so on. The series was a success all over the world, and the trilogy of films directed by Westworld has grossed a total of over $600 million, of which the first around $348 million, followed by the $312 million of the second and the $288 million of the third. An excellent result that has contributed, among other things, to a rise in sales of the books, already famous by themselves. As far as the movies are concerned, the success is largely due to an accurate choice of the cast and direction, and above all, to the careful execution of the scenes and the themes of both of the movies and the novels that the teenagers also dear. The themes, despite the fact that they have already been covered over and over again in other works, are one of the strengths of the series. Certainly among these stands out the fear, which hovers on the group until the end, even in peaceful moments, or the fear that comes from not remembering who they are, or what awaits them on the other side. Who to trust? In fact, some gliders who have been stung by the grievers hardly regain their memories, and what they see frightens them so much that they no longer want to leave the labyrinth. There is the fear at the thought of what wicked can do to them, fear of change and of the unknown for Gully, the fear of knowing. And then there is the persistence, especially Thomas' persistence in risking everything to find out the truth. The persistence of the group in surviving and finding a way out. The question of what is right and what is wrong is a constant and a border, in this case quite blurred. This is because although the actions are unquestionably unjust, one cannot help but at least understand the motivations. Wicked is good, says the message Teresa's imprinted on her arm. Yet the young group and the others who are fighting it, who strongly disagree. As much as one can appreciate the dedication to finding a cure to the plague that is decimating the world, they put children through hell to achieve the goal, and nothing can justify such an inhuman act. There are fans who either love or loathe Teresa, who finds herself torn between wanting to find a cure and Thomas. Or when one of the gliders gets stung and attacks Thomas, the group is forced to push him into the maze and leave him there to his fate. No one did it because they wanted to, but the rules have to be followed, otherwise the whole system they set up would collapse, and everyone would act on their own. In particular Albie, most of all as a leader, could not afford to break them. Important to the story is the friendship that is established between the gliders, because that is what drives them to face and survive adversity together. There is even a claustrophobic sense in seeing this small heaven surrounded by such imposing walls, whose only exit could very well lead them to their own death. But combined with persistence and a solid friendship, hope pushes them to try to succeed. That's what happens to Albie when he realizes that there is nothing outside to return to. It is his friends who spur him on. The themes of the series are plenty. The main reason I chose this work over others is more due to an emotional factor. It is a series that, despite having its flaws, is engaging, dynamic, and worth trying at least once. For a while I was totally enamored with it, and even today I like to browse the internet for some news, or for some fan-made content dedicated to it. My very first contact with the series was with the movies. I usually prefer books over the adaptations, mostly because they are more complete, especially in details. But this is one of the few cases where I gleefully prefer the movie. I find the meticulous world building perfectly created, the acting of the cast excellent, and many of the scenes in the books really well described and impressive. At the time, it wasn't a word that you would usually hear about, despite how successful it was. I discovered it purely by accident. After the first film, I jumped onto the second, and then the third, as soon as they were released in theaters, until eventually finding myself devouring all the books and the related interviews and behind-the-scenes footage. The writing style is simple, flows without any particular hiccups, and is not at all difficult to understand it. Definitely recommended.